But last night in the Four Nations tournament also taught me something else. And that's this. We are to blame for the NBA All-Star Game being the way it is. And when I say the word we, I mean us. Us as fans, us as basketball fans, sports fans, we especially, is being used for those in the media. No doubt about it, that cover the sport, that talk about the sport, in some cases talk down about the sport. We, in the collective sports watching, sports commentating sphere, are to blame for why the NBA All-Star Game right now in its current iteration sucks. To help explain why we're the problem, let's look at first what made the Four Nations tournament so successful. Right? I think they had a blend of a lot of things that made it work. Right? Country, I think, obviously helped. USA versus Canada, USA versus Finland. Right? You kind of invoke that country pride. I think that helped. Having great players in it also helps. Right? People want to watch the best, and the best NHL players from each of the four countries represented, for the most part, if they were healthy to, played. That helps, and it's also something different, right? It's similar to the Olympics, if you will, but this is the first year the tournament started. Again, it's replacing the NHL All-Star Game, so it's new, it's novel, country, good teams, good players, right? There's a lot there that I think led to the massive viewership and the massive success of the tournament. But I think I can just boil it down to very simply this. The players in the tournament cared, and it forced us to care, right? If again, puck drops, USA, Canada, 8 o'clock on Saturday, all of a sudden there's 3 fights, the hits are huge, the intensity you could feel coming through the TV. Like, I'm getting chills right now just talking about it. It was just such a fun atmosphere to watch a game and just watch that game go down. The intensity, like, the players cared so much. And they didn't have to, by the way, but they did. They cared so much that you felt that passion bleed through the TV, and it forced you, even if you are not a hockey fan, didn't know anybody playing, it forced you, if you turned it on, to be intrigued and captivated right away. And again, I think that's the biggest thing here to remember as well is the players didn't have to care. Right, this is not the Olympics. There's not a gold medal at stake. This is not a tournament that is historically important. This is a brand new thing. Nobody, this could never happen again, possibly, right? There's no guarantee the Four Nations, now this tournament sticking around, it meaning something, the trophy, the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in the middle of the NHL season that does matter, right? Chasing the Stanley Cup does matter. Winning a gold medal does matter. Will winning a Four Nations championship actually matter? I don't know. We'll see. But for being the first one, the players didn't have to care. And they absolutely did. And why they did, to me, is where, again, I want to go back to why we as a general society, sports-loving society, are to blame for the way the NBA All-Star Game is. After the game, right after the win, Connor McDavid scores the game winner. He's a hero for all of Canada, wins the Four Nations tournament. And he was speaking with ESPN just minutes after the game. And I thought Emily Kaplan asked a tremendous question. Connor, why does this mean so much to you? Why does the Four Nations tournament mean so much? Take a listen to his answer.
Because it's best on best. It's 4 great countries going at it. Obviously here in Boston, going against an amazing American team, and just finding a way. It wasn't necessarily the prettiest, but just found a way.
Simple. Best on best. Wasn't country pride, wasn't ego, wasn't, we're trying to make this thing a real thing, wasn't political. It was, look, best players are out there. I'm going to bring my best if we're facing the best. And it had me thinking then right there, as I was watching that on the couch live after the game, thinking about tonight's show, thinking how we're going to talk about the tournament, a light bulb went off almost immediately after hearing those 3 words from McDavid, best on best. And a light bulb went off about why the NBA All-Star Game is the way it is. You can switch formats for the NBA All-Star Game, right, which they have. You can make, you can try to get countries involved, whatever. You can do a million different things, million different changes, and nothing works. Why? Because NBA players aren't motivated by just the pure fact of facing the best on best. Having the best 12 guys from the East doesn't just simply motivate the best 12 guys on the Western Conference side to play their best and prove something to anybody. That's not enough. For hockey, it is. You just heard the best player in the world who's chasing a Stanley Cup after coming so close last year say he was motivated to go all out in the middle of the season in a tournament that, again, could be deemed meaningless because the best players were out there and he wanted to prove how good he is. NBA players aren't motivated by that. And I think, again, why we are to blame is because of right here. For years, you could argue now decades, we have ingrained in basketball players' minds and football, really quarterbacks' minds, that nothing matters besides winning a championship. Like, you can have the greatest regular season ever. If you don't win a title at the end, who cares? Like people say, who cares? Doesn't matter. You didn't win a ring. You didn't finish it off. Could we call anybody right now the best player in the league if they don't have a ring? Probably not. He's great. Yeah, he puts up all these great stats. He's awesome in the regular season, but he stinks in the postseason. He can't win the big one. He can't win a championship. Everything comes back to championships. Ring culture has taken over the NBA. And I think from our perspective, when we perpetuate that as fans, when we in the media talk about this guy doesn't have a ring, so he doesn't deserve respect, and he's got to get it done, or else, his career is a failure and an underachievement. If we are constantly negating every single individual accomplishment, if it's not accompanied by a ring, then let me ask you this. Why do you think NBA players would care about their performance in an All-Star game? Because what would we say? It doesn't matter. It's an All-Star game. Who cares? Giannis dropped 60 points. He was the MVP. Great. Who cares? If you go out in the first round that year, no one's going to remember that. Nobody remembers how many finals MVPs Michael Jordan has, or Kobe has, or LeBron has. People know their rings, though. They know how many championships they have. They know how many championship appearances, or I should say finals appearances, they have. So many arguments get boiled down to rings. Who has them? Who doesn't? How many do you have versus how many does this guy have? When the sole focus is championship or bust, I can't fault players then for looking at the All-Star game saying, why should I go hard? What's the point? Why should I risk injury and then maybe hurt myself and hurt my team's chances from winning a championship later this year? That's where I think we deserve blame. The players deserve blame. I'm not saying this is all on us as fans and media. The players absolutely should have more pride, no doubt about it, and they do not. But part of me can't blame the players because anytime you turn on the radio, anytime you put a TV show on, anytime you listen to a podcast, it's ring this, ring that, got to come through in the playoffs, got to win a championship. You have to make good on this great season or else it's a waste. Everything gets knocked down / doesn't matter if it doesn't follow with a ring, if it doesn't culminate in a championship. And I think that has to be realized more. And again, watching the Four Nations tournament help hammer that home. There's no ring culture in hockey. No one's sitting there talking about Alexander Ovechkin's greatness as he's chasing down Wayne Gretzky, but only saying, he only got one ring. The great one. He may have had the scoring record, but only has one ring. Nobody talks like that. Nobody knocks Connor McDavid for being ringless at the moment. He's the best player undisputed in the sport. He's the best player in the world, frankly. That same ring culture does not apply in hockey. So smaller things matter more. Regular season stats matter more in hockey than they do in basketball or even football. Because the same thing, again, applies to NFL quarterbacks as well. A lot of it is ring, 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 ring. Smaller tournaments and wins like this, like wins like the ones we saw last night in the Four Nations, right, matter more in hockey than it would if basketball tried a similar tournament. I don't think it's working. I don't think simply the countries aligning and playing are going to create a difference. If the NBA tried to adopt what the Four Nations did and the NHL did, saying, screw the All-Star game, we're going to get you 5 countries and we're going to just play a round-robin tournament, I don't think you're seeing much difference between the NBA players' compete level in that versus an All-Star game. I don't think they're not motivated by that because the Four Nations doesn't have anything behind it, just like the NBA Cup. I don't think those players are going harder to win an NBA Cup because, again, who cares about the NBA Cup? Nobody, when LeBron retires, is going to mention that he's an NBA Cup champion. Nobody. I'm sure probably half of you even forgot the Lakers won it last year. And that's not a knock on you. That's just a knock on the tournament of just all that matters are championships. Now, you see, again, players go hard for things other than titles in the NBA. Look at the Olympics. Gold medals matter. Rings matter. But I can't blame NBA players for taking it easy in an All-Star game when, frankly, it doesn't matter. We bitch about it for 1 week. We try all this week to come up with fixes, try to yell at the players, to have more respect, figure out what could work, and then it's, okay, let's focus on the playoffs. I don't think the NBA All-Star game has to matter. I really don't. And I think a big reason why it doesn't, no matter how much you change a format, no matter what you try to do to jazz it up and juice it up, it will never matter because the players don't care because they are told by us, the fans, and us, the media, that it doesn't matter. Ring or bust. Title or bust. That's, to me, watching the Four Nations and how successful it was, that to me is the biggest difference between basketball and hockey. And that's a reason why, for me at least, thinking about this all week, I had a lot of time, unfortunately, being sick, having the flu. So a lot of time, a lot more than I wanted, sitting there myself, daytime TV stinks, just myself and my thoughts. And so I was trying to all week think about the NBA All-Star game. As people are talking about it, trying to come up with fixes, what could work, the answer is nothing. Nothing's ever going to work. I don't care, honestly. I have no problem if the NBA All-Star game never is a competitive game again. Fine. But I think you're seeing the reason being it's not just because the players are lazy. I think in part it's because we have told them now every single day, all that matters are championships. And so if an All-Star game is not going to help you, help your legacy, help how you're viewed throughout the league, why go hard? Why put yourself out there? Why risk injury and actually maybe prevent yourself from winning the ultimate prize that people will give you credit for, which is a championship?